empowerment just on SSBC television.
Hello, dear viewer of SSBC Power House with Akuchma Care. We are joining you live in our studio where we will focus on the country's road to its first post-independent general elections, initially planned for 2024 and now scheduled for December 2026 to allow time for the implementation of key prerequisites outlined in the revitalized peace agreement that include the unification of army forces, drafting of a permanent constitution, and the conduct of a comprehensive population census. All are foundational steps for the country's democratic transition. Yet with growing political tensions and pockets of insecurity across the country, many are asking, will South Sudan make it to the polls in December 2026, or is heading towards another extension as previous attempts at holding elections were delayed due to challenges in implementing reforms? On this edition of Power House, we bring key figures from National Electoral Institutions to update the nation on the progress, challenges, and the way forward. Joining me are Gabriel Bolding, SG for National Election Commission, Dr. Agustino Tingmayai, Director General, National Bureau of Statistics, Riang Duor, Chairperson, National Constitutional Review Commission, Engineer James Akol Zakayo, Chairperson, Political Parties Council, to discuss on their progress and the challenges they might be going through and the way forward, since the date has been set for December 2026. So, Honorable, welcome to SSBC Power House with Akuchma Care. Briefly, how were the funds allocated to your institution last year utilized? Let's hear from Election Commission.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akuchma Care, for having us on your show to engage with the citizen about the important program, especially the transition that we are in and we are expecting to end through elections. Last year, the National Election Commission received some money, and this was part of what we call pre-election activities. As we know, we are a relatively very new country, never hold election before. We lack infrastructure. So the first amount of money was to lay the key infrastructure across 10 state and 3 administrative areas. And with that money, I'm happy to report we have successfully completed 5 offices already. We have inaugurated 1 office, Central Equatoria State Election Office. And then in the next few weeks, we will launch and open the Awil, Northern Barghazal office, Western Barghazal, and Rumbek. 1 will be completed in the next 2 months, especially the one in Warab. So this make up 6 electoral offices which are ready. The 4 are currently under construction, and within 3 months they will be done. And that is with the support from our international partners, especially UNIEAT. They have been very, very supportive. So with their support, they were able to agree to build 4 offices. 1 in Bor, we have already laid the ground breaking and the construction is ongoing. The 1 in Malakal, construction is going. The 1 in Bintiu, construction is going. The 1 in Western Barghazal, Yambi.
So in short, the money that you are given have been exhausted on this infrastructure development?
Yeah, the money we have has been exhausted on that, on the infrastructure.
Okay, the Constitutional Review Commission.
Well, thank you, Akush, for having us here. And I'm happy to say that the government has provided a little bit of money to the electoral institutions. When that money came, I think it came twice. The first time, we did not get anything as the NCRC, but then when the second round came, we were given a very little bit of money.
The first one you were not given?
No.
Okay. The second
we got a little bit of money, but that was given to us for the purpose of establishment
establishment.
And when we got that money, we did a little bit of assessment as to what we needed most. And we found out that the commission needed more facilities, and we used that money to construct new facilities, and some of it we used it on renovating the then existing facilities, and then we exhausted that money.
All right, Political Parties Council.
Yeah, thank you for having us here, Coach Makir. This is really a very good program, because nation need to be updated. But portion of your question is to be answered publicly, and others could be privately, because there are some things we can't put on the media. We were resourced, we were given, and we had competing priorities, of which we had a need for a headquarter, to establish a headquarter, and we have acquired the headquarter. And then also, the second was to establish a system for registration of political parties. We have acquired the data center, and we brought now over 150 devices for registration of political parties members. And we have also bought computers, all the needed stationaries, we have acquired them. And the next stage now is to go and start the enrollment of political parties members. The reason why there's a bit of delay on the enrollment is because of the training.
Yeah, we will come there.
And I may not be much explicit on how this money was spread across all this, but this is where we have spent our money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Infrastructure, electronics,
Yeah.
gadgets to be
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
You
you
have
very much
statistic
once
reporting?
again for having me. Probably this is the third or fourth time we are discussing these fundamental issue of transition. The Bureau of Statistics has not received any funding from the government since the approval of the budget
The first and the
in
second.
February. None, zero money has been received. But there's it's hope. So the Minister of Finance and myself met 2 weeks ago to discuss this funding support from the government to the National Bureau of Statistics, and finally agreed. And yesterday we submitted a dossier, a document containing different items, including the timelines for the census conduct. And the ministry finally has committed, beginning July 1st, to provide some resources, starting with $1 million this month, for us to, as colleagues stated, begin with the establishment of different structures within the census conduct system, including providing resources for renovation of the offices, establishment of the committees, national level committee, subnational level committees. And so we're waiting for the resources. The ministry has committed to provide $1 million on a monthly basis beginning July 1st to December.
All right, we have heard from the PPC that they were able to purchase the electronics gadgets that will be used during the electoral process. And from the National Election Commission, you haven't mentioned such. So how are you going to handle the election when we talk of digital?
Yeah, no, that is very good questions. Yeah, this was a part of the money was released, was a part of pre-election activities. So we are expecting some more funding to be released.
Did you receive money twice?
We received money once, and then last week I'll be on my scene on TV or in the news. We met with the president, and in that meeting, this was our second meeting. In May, we met with the president to outline our program and the challenges facing the National Election Commission. And after 2 weeks, I think he read, and then he called us And in that meeting, the Minister of Finance was there, and he directed him to release some more money, specifically for pre-election activities. And at that, when we receive that money, that will go into the systems. We will bought the electronics, the computers to lay the computer programs and the systems that we need to run and manage the elections.
All right, how has the repeated postponement of elections impacted both the political environment and citizens' life? Constitutional Review Commission?
Well, the commission, like any other institution, is only an implementer. We have a law that we are implementing, and for that reason, we are only technical people.
Technical people, and they're
Yeah.
the one driving the country towards election. So
political-
once they are not in place, the
Political-
election is postponed.
Political decisions are made by the political leadership, but they can only seek advice from us.
And that
Yes.
advice, it's okay. So what is your take, Dr. Tim? This delayment of elections throughout, how has it impacted the political environment and the citizens' lives?
My friend Riang has actually stated the obvious, and that is to ensure that the decisions that are fed into eventually the outcome, and that is elections, come from different sources. Prime is the political leadership. We as the technical institutions are providing technical support and providing insight into how a political decision could be effective. What this really means is that once we as technical institutions are not availed with the resources that we need to provide that technical input, it's very difficult for us to advance an agenda which enables political leadership to make that decision on moving things forward. And so for us, our view is that as to do with statistics, we're not politically invested. But our view is that as you announce such initiatives, citizens stand ready to engage. And when you don't move forward, you basically put them on suspense. And I think that's what's happening across the country.
Engineer, what is the current status of political parties registration in the country?
Thank you once again. The current status of political parties registration as of today, we have 29 registered political parties. And we are yet to enroll the members of 29 political parties on our system. And by doing the process of enrollment, it will create more resistance, because we know that the requirements are a bit hard to be met, and some have provided us with documents that we need to verify. And if we verify them not to be according to the law, so it's likely that we may deregister many political parties in the near future if we enroll the system. So there will be a lot to be deregistered in the near future. So we are likely expecting to reach the election with a quite few number of political parties.
In that case, you are still having some challenges.
We have challenges to implement what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And the challenges are not only resources. We need an institutional support to implement this. We need security, we need protection, and we need partnership with the organized or law enforcement agencies to help us implement this. Us alone, we regulate, we don't enforce. So if we get support from law enforcement agencies, we can be able to do our job efficiently.
So how was the issue of the registration fee addressed?
Well, it is a policy, and the policy has to be implemented. Yeah, there's nothing that nothing can change. It's a policy, and it has been passed by the council, and it is in the regulation.
Okay.
Nothing changed.
Passed by the council.
Everything remain as it is.
Okay, the price remained the same.
Yeah, fees
And I
that
believe that is what the 29 parties, registered parties, that paid that.
most of them.
Okay. So, Dr. Ting, what stage is the census preparation at now? Since you are saying you have not been funded since the beginning.
Thank you very much, Akuch. I think I commenced with the fact that at the onset, the funding that we requested was not availed. And you know what this means. That when the resources are not available, it's not a cheap exercise. I would say the resources needed by elections commissions and resources needed by the Bureau are more or less on the same level, hundreds of millions of dollars. And as such, with the country not being able to make the resources available, we have moved very little, but we have moved. So the first thing we did was to actually conduct what we call readiness assessment for the country to undertake a census. And with funding from the UN, we're able to hire a consultant to do that assessment.
So do you believe the country can conduct elections without census?
It's not a matter of belief. I think it's a matter of policy and intention of political leadership. And, of course, reflection of the agreement. The agreement provides for the census to be conducted. It's also essential for...
But you seem left out. Like, in the first place, these people were given the money. And census should be ahead of everything.
I don't think I'm necessarily left out. I think the issue is that the resources needed by the Bureau are too
much.
A bit more, especially as requesting $35 million at the onset in order to begin the preparation for the census with the formation of the committees, and of course getting into the state to develop what we call national cartography. Those resources are not small, and with the ministry at the time not having enough resources, it could do with the limited resources that it had, and it gave this institution whatever there was. And I understand the most that was paid out was roughly $10 million to each institution. So it's not the Bureau it's not necessarily being left out. It's that the country is facing a lot of challenges economically. But as I said earlier, the Ministry of Finance is keen on this, and it's able to provide some resources beginning this month. The implication is that the Bureau might not participate in terms of providing the information needed for elections. If the elections are conducted
Okay, we'll
in
come
December.
back to that. So, Constitutional Review Commission, how far has the permanent constitution drafting progressed as we speak now?
Well, thank you. I would like to begin by saying that the activities of the Commission are divided into two categories. We have procedural activities, and then we have substantive activities. In the area of procedural activities, I think we have done a lot, and the Commission is prepared to go into the next stage of substantive activities of the constitution making. So what we need now is to be facilitated so that we can move to the next stage.
So when is it expected to be released to the public?
To be released to the public?
Yes, what you have done so far.
Well, it does not necessarily need to be released to the public.
The stage, the
is,
public need to know what stage have you reached?
It is.
What
it
is left? Because we are talking of permanent constitution.
These are internal activities, but once we finish them, we go nationwide with civic education and public consultation.
So how long will that take?
Well,
for you to go public?
It will take not a lot because the members of the commission are ready, so that once funding becomes available, it is just a matter of them being sent out to the states and the 3 administrative areas to conduct civic education and public consultations. This can be expedited depending on the availability.
What mechanisms are in place to ensure citizen participation in its development?
Well, as I just said, we will conduct civic education so that we educate the public on how they could participate in the constitution making process.
That is after the completion? Or?
No, that's the first thing to be done before drafting. So once we finish and they are aware of the process, then we go to them to collect their views on a number of constitutional issues. This is where they will begin to participate actively so that they could contribute, because the views that are collected from them are to be the basis for the drafting of the first draft constitutional text.
Okay. So Election Commission, what concrete plans are in place to ensure security during the electoral period? Because you can't do election without your internal security.
Yeah, definitely. Security is very, very important in the conduct of elections. With the partners, currently there is a committee headed by the police, Electoral Security Committee. So we have some representative there, and there has been training. They had done some training to some of our staff, and that committee is the main body that will be in charge of monitoring and ensure that our polls and security across the country is safe. And as I'm speaking, they have toured all the 3 administrative areas and the 10 states as a free security assessment, and the assessment was done last week. So of course, it's a part of the program, because without security, election cannot be conducted. So there is a training going on, and as we go approach, there will be a national committee that will be set, and will be headquartered in National Election Commission to ensure our materials, the citizens, and our polls are safe across the country. So security is an essential aspect for conducting election.
Constitutional Commission, do you think the election can be conducted without you finalizing the permanent constitution?
It is not about me thinking. As I said earlier, we are implementing, beginning with the agreement, then the act that is provided for the constitution making process. You look at the agreement, it talks about elections being conducted in accordance with the provisions of the new and permanent constitution. So by that, it is clear to all of us that elections can only be conducted when the permanent constitution is in place. But the question is, when will it be in place? Well, it will be in place when we are resourced. So the fact that we are here without the constitution is an indication that we have not been facilitated. If we get facilitated, we think that we could just do it before.
So do you think the December 2026 election, the date set is?
It is possible. Yeah, it is possible.
When you get
we
the
just
resources.
need commitment from the RT to facilitate these electoral institutions.
All right, there seemed to be this institutional disagreement on sequencing. Last time, the chairperson of Election Commission said that election can be done while the constitution is still being drafted. The Bureau of Statistics says, according to the Regulation Act, that it has to be finalized before the election. This is what you are also confirming. According to the Act, there has to be a permanent constitution there in place for people to transition to the election. So how do you reconcile these differing institutional positions? Let's say you have not been given the money, the resources are not there, but they're saying people are going for election in December. We have seen it has always been postponed. How can people come together then without the resources to ensure that the people go for election?
Yeah, as my colleague has said, we are implementing agents in the National Election Commission. National Election Commission mandated by the Constitution to conduct election at the end of transitional period. And the agreement said for election to be conducted, census and constitutional making are prerequisite. This is a political decision. So what we did when a political decision was made to extend the government or the lifespan of the government for the next 24 months. The National Electoral Commission had a retreat, 1 week retreat, to examine the activities needed to finally reach the election. Do they fit within 24 months? And obviously the question was no, because 24 months based on the electoral activities that went to conduct it is not enough. So that's where they came out with their positions and their key recommendation to the political leadership. Again, as my colleague said, we are implementing agent, but there are key political decisions that has to be made. So we made our position very clear that election is within 24 months and the activities that we want to conduct it and is not possible. But on the other hand, we said it is a key decision. If you want to fit it within 24 months, these are some of the key decisions that you have to make, that national level constitution making can be delayed from election. Census has to be delayed. And now, this is where the political leaders and the parties to the agreement had to make a decision. What data? If, right now, for example, we left with 17 months. 17 months. And our activities together collectively, for me, does not fit in that. And that's why, again, it is not our decision. It is a decision of the political leadership and political parties, especially parties, the agreement to sit down and make those key decisions, which data to use, or they will do like Augustine, my colleague, DG for census.
So delinking the constitutional making process and the census.
And the census.
Dr. Ting,
but again, it is
time,
not our decisions. It is decision of
that is your
leaders.
proposal. It's not your decision, but you proposed. Yeah. Dr. Ting?
Right, so it makes a lot of sense, what Gabriel is saying. So let me come from a statistical background. That in a statistics, there's a statistical model. And the statistical model produces an outcome. That outcome is a combination of so many elements, many factors. Our elections are basically a product of this factor. So these institutions here sit there to deliver that. Now, the moment you remove one of the elements from the equation, you basically produce what's called an error, and that error it's basically going to affect your outcome. But you can still make a decision, and that's what Gabriel is saying. That if you are okay with that error within the system, then you can decide to drop one of the factors. And that decision has to rest with not any of us in here, not the Bureau, not the election commissions, not the Constitution, not the political parties, council. It's the political leadership. And the political leadership, as we all know, is vested in the agreement. And the partners to the agreement can sit and say, we'll not do this thing now, but we'll do this other thing right now.
So in
and
that case,
provide for us other options that can fill the gap in terms of the information needed, for example.
Okay, as you run to your affairs in your institutions, if there is a government directive guiding these priorities on what should be done first?
Thank you. You know, I completely differ with what my colleague said here. Yes, we are implementing a peace agreement, and the peace agreement has made all the arrangements. Toward the end of an agreement, there will be an election, which will determine the next government. That one is okay. But I think the most important part at the moment is the phase 2 or deployment. So if deployment takes place, all the forces outside are integrated into the national army. Even if the census is not done, voters registration can be conducted, an election can be done, and then the census continues. At the same time, this constitution can be amended. The constitution can be amended for the purpose of conducting this election. And then the next government determines the nature of what the constitution that needs. The next parliament may determine the constitution. That's what I'm suggesting. But I think there is no more influence from political leadership on each and every one of the institutions that we have. We don't operate based on directives from anyone. We follow what is in the law. So I don't see the influence of political leadership on what we do. No, there's no influence on what we do. What needed to be done is, yes, each and every institution has come up with the matrix, the timeline. But that timeline, if the resources are not available, it will be meaningless, because you cannot determine a timeline before your resource. Because activities are divided across the time. So if you are not given money on that specific time, you will be given the money on a certain time where you were supposed to do another activity. So, and that is why there is an urgency here of giving resources. But also, I'm also requesting from my colleagues on other institutions. There are activities that do not need money that you can do. Like for us, we have drafted all the instruments, the regulations. It needed little money, and they're all put in place. And some key other things that we have done that didn't really need money.
You've talked of a system before that can be used. Can that system also be used by the Bureau of Statistics to conduct census?
Well,
it's a different system.
No, it's not compatible with the parameters they have, unless we agree and probably customize it to make sure that it can. But the system can pick the demographic data. What's needed is, do we really need to use this same system, or do they have their specific system? That's something which is different. But I think Bureau of Statistics are well prepared for that. They know what they want, and they need money. They need money. They know what they want. They need money.
SSBC, we are taking a short break. Stay with us.
Welcome to Powerhouse with the Coach Maker.
Welcome back from that short break. Now to proceed, are there any strategies in place to harmonize your approaches? The Constitution?
Well, thank you. Your previous question as to how to harmonize the different positions of the institutions is very important, because if this is not clarified, then it could keep creating confusion. And I think Dr. Augustino stated it clearly earlier, and I want to agree with both of them on the fact that we are in institutions that are technical, and we are implementing existing laws. You look at the agreement talks about the Constitution being in place first before elections. It talks about the census being in place before you go for elections. This is what is in the law. And as implementing agencies, we go by what is in the laws. Any position that is different from this is only a personal opinion. But the question is, which one do you go by? Do you go by what is in the law, or do you go with what is a personal opinion? I think we go according to what is in the law. So there are no disharmony. There's no disharmony in positions, because the law is there guiding us. And this is all that we
So we have to strictly follow the law.
Yeah, as institutions that are implementing the laws, we don't have a power to change. It is the political leadership.
The law cannot be amended, Dr. T?
First, I want to agree with the engineer that not everything that we have to undertake as institutions needs money. And for example, he gave a couple of some of these activities. We also have done the same. We have moved forward with the, for example, drafting the documents for the census without a cost to the government. And those documents are ready. Those documents include the declaration by the president that the census will be conducted, including identifying the period that is, of course, without guidance, that is suitable for this. And as a result, I want to echo the importance of political leadership. While we are technical institutions with the laws in place that we are implementing, the political leadership still matters. And so the Bureau has prepared all the documentation for the census, but by the end of the day, it will be the president to declare that the census will take place. Even if we were given all the resources to do all the necessary, do the groundwork, go do the cartography and what have you, the president would still need to declare that the census will be conducted. Number two is that voter registration, it's very important, but it's not representative of the population. And that's why the census comes in. The census will include the kids that are born that night. It will include kids that are basically close to 18 years old but cannot vote in elections. And this is where the parliamentarians come in, the constituency representatives. With voter registrations, you cannot define the representation across the board. And that leads to issues of representation. Now, if the political leadership and the country are okay with that, then there's no need for the census to be conducted. But I don't think that's the view. I don't think that's the feeling.
Some compromise will come in. You had mentioned before that the people are not supposed to have set the election date before the resources are available. So do you think this December 2026 as the target date, do you believe that the election will actually take place? Now that the date has already been set, the resources are not available. Do you still think that we're going?
Yeah, what I said was the activities that need to be done should have wait first until they are resourced, then they can be able to put their activities in place. Because now, the activity was supposed to be done in June. They were not done in June because there was no resources. Now, we are now in July, and activities supposed to be done in July are not yet. So, we are supposed to be resourced first, such that we come up with a timeline. Because you giving a timeline prior to receiving resources does not really justify the convenience of the matter. So the best thing is always to either give based on the current, and this is what we have been telling the government, don't give all the election money. See what are activities to be done in June. And you resource based on the activities that are to be done in June. And then you see what is need to be done in July. Like that. We'll see what needs to be done in September. We don't need to be given money now for activities in December. We don't need to be given money now for activities in October. What needs to be done now need to be resourced now. Or else we wait first until we are resourced, then we come up with our timeline, the matrix. That's
right, election commission.
So coming to December, there is no choice, because December is the end of any activity. So election must be conducted.
But there has always been a choice. So election commission, you will not jump to that question. According to your roadmap now, when are you people supposed to start voter registration and civic education campaign in the country?
We provide a timeline based on
your timeline, your constitution as the
National Act. What I'm trying to say here is our timeline is dictated by the law. You see, the law says in certain...
That is your law, yes. According to that law of yours, when are you supposed to start?
So for us, certainly we should have started registration in June.
You should have started
in
June.
January, we should have declared civic and voter education. It is a 3-month exercise. But as you say, the resources delay us, keeping us...
So are you going to compromise your law Now you people are sticking to the law. Now that you have not done it in June, assume you're given money in October. Are you going to do the voter registration? That's something that you should have done in June.
No, obviously no.
Are you going to skip it?
Let me be clear here. As we say, not everything that need resources, and with the limited resources that we got from the government and also from our partners. Our partners have been doing a lot of capacity building, so we're able to produce some prerequisite document. We have completed national baseline survey. This was an essential document. The aim was to test the citizen knowledge on the electoral process and access to information. So that document and that assessment was enable us now to come up with a national curriculum. So we have produced this national curriculum, and we are planning to launch this month. And of that, we had trained over 200 what we call trainers across the 10 states. This week we were all across 10 states. There was a workshop training the trainers so that we will line our civic and voter education. So resource is important and time is important, but there are things that we can do, and we are pushing with our partner.
So you are likely to do this one without the national resources?
No, we will, again, declaring civic and voter education is essential, and with our support of our partners, we're going to do that. And as you know, last week we met with the president, and the president directed the Ministry of Finance to release some money, specifically for voter education. And so far we are in touch with the Ministry of Finance, and as Agustin Atinga said, he is cooperating, and also he sent the importance of these institutions.
You say the president gave directives that the resources should be available.
Yeah, he gave the directive resources to be available. He directed the security organ to cooperate and ensure that there were 3 directives: finances, national security organ directed them to cooperate with national electoral institutions, and then directed us to provide regular updates to the key stakeholders and his office. So that means you can send here, I think the president himself is concerned, and I think with the 2 meetings that we have got, he has assured us of his political commitment, and he urged us to engage the key stakeholders.
Okay, one of the reasons why you have not been given the resources or the money so far, I believe it's that the money is not in place. So what is the government doing currently to ensure you are funded so that you complete the electoral activities that are remaining? The directives have been given, the finance has not responded. What then should be done? Constitutional review?
Well, I think there's not a lot that we can do as the electoral institutions.
Sit and watch.
We can only update them on the need to provide resources to us. Where they will get it from, we do not know.
But already with the law, there is a need for them to give the money.
All that we need is for them to commit resources from any source that they can get them from. And they seem to be agreeing with us that they will provide. And this is all that we have as a promise from the active one.
I can respond to the Bureau. So the Bureau is somewhat different from the rest of the institutions. The census is a developmental input, and so much of it rests with development. And as an element of development, there is support externally for the census. And so one of the things that we have done, the Ministry of Finance and the Bureau of Statistics, is to navigate ways to fund it through the partners. And what is clear is that the partners are ready to provide support as long as the government puts in the pot some resources from the financial institutions to the UN institutions, UNFPA, those institutions are ready to provide support for the Bureau to deliver the census. But again, this is from the development perspective. And I want to echo this again, Akuch. The census plays a small part in the political arena. It's a very small part. The census is desired whether or not the country is conducting elections. Because when a president is elected, when a parliamentarian is elected, how do they program the developmental agenda to the people of South Sudan? They can't do it without the census. And so the census does have potential sources for funding. It's just that our political situation and the security situation makes it difficult for commitment outside to be realized. But the Ministry of Finance, the Bureau of Statistics are navigating those ways as well.
Okay,
I think to add on what he just said, we need the government to develop such a forum like what you have done, so that we identify the linkages between us, the electoral institutions, and at the same time, we all know that the government doesn't have money. There is a scarcity of resources now. So what needs to be done, we need to strategize and probably reduce our needs to the immediate needs so that the government can be able to meet. If we can reduce our needs to immediate needs, we see what is needed on a monthly basis. And the government needs to engage these electoral institutions, break down what costs that had been put in place for the election, and see what needs to be done on a monthly basis. If government doesn't do that, then we will be behind. So we need to engage the government and break down what is needed by those electoral institutions on the basis of pre-election activities, and pre-election activities should also be broken down into months so that you reduce this burden. If you're asking $100 million, $30 million, that includes money you need in October, which is not available in the government now. But if you need your activity can take $300,000-$400,000 in a month, I think government can afford that. So we need to maybe conduct such sessions so that we bring awareness to the
talk of seeking funding from maybe other international community.
Yes.
So if the government seek further international assistance for election funding, how will transparency and accountability be ensured? We have been seeing this the second time the election has been postponed.
Yes. So transparency and accountability are important elements of managing such an exercise. Now, I'm not saying funding for elections, just to be clear. I'm saying funding for the census. Two separate issues.
It is under
the international community will not easily fund
driving
elections.
us to elections.
I can just tell you that. There will be limited resources for elections from the international community. There will be resources available for the census because everybody needs information. And if, for example, the World Bank is interested in investing in education, you're going to need information from the census in order to provide resources for education. Now, in terms of management, accountability, there are different outfits. Already, the international system is what we call third party, but that's too expensive. So we would not recommend that. You could have a committee set up which would include international partners, national partners, civil society, in order to manage that resource. And that can easily be set up under, say, UNFPA, which does censuses across the globe, especially in developing world. So accountability would not be a problem because the resources will not be directly managed by us. They will be managed by a third party, and the third party will work with the Bureau, the government, and the other partner to ensure that the flows of funds, right, are consistent, and to ensure that the reporting is done according to the international standards and best practices. That is something that can easily be done.
Constitutional review, from your own perspectives, what is the main obstacle preventing the election and how can it be resolved?
Well, I think there are a number of obstacles in place that are preventing the elections, and some are those activities such as constitution making, census, security arrangement, and so on and so forth. And I believe that these are things that can be done. such that we do not go into another extension. It is just a matter of government commitment to ensure that these things are done so that they are moved out of the way. in the
Okay,
lead of the
Election
elections.
Commission, the main one that is preventing the country from.
The main one would be the resources, because as we said, I don't see a lot of difference here. If resources are bailed on time, and as Honorable Zakaya said, the figures people may think is too big, but if they are got line by line item, let's say even 50,000 would push.
But the
that-
quotation
that-
people are
that-
giving
that-
is
that
too
agreement.
much, and now you are the one talking of reducing the prices. Who are
No,
submitting
it is
the quotations?
It is not about reducing the prices. It is about prioritizing the activities.
But all of you seem to need priorities. All of you need
Yeah,
to be prioritized.
what we are saying here, it is our national treasury, our government sitting down with us, and we prioritize along with them, so that we will not wait and say, okay, like Dr. Agustina said, that he met with the main Minister of Finance, which is very good. He's a good engagement, and he has made promise. The Minister of Finance, directed by the President, is meeting with us this afternoon, so that this national treasury, with the amount of the money collected and priorities of the government, can be prioritized that along. So resource is one of the key.
That's the main.
The main factor, because if we
Engineer,
have
what is the main?
The main thing is the security arrangement. Even if we are resourced now and the security arrangement is not in place, yet there will be no election.
But again,
Victor.
our resources is not laid to us. The security apparatus or the security committee need the money.
Yeah.
So if their money is released, then they will be also on time.
So if the country doesn't have money, we are not transitioning. We are not going for election in the next
I think
maybe
that
5 or 10
there would
years.
be another key political decisions. But I know, reading from our citizens and hearing from them, they will be disappointed, of course.
They have always been disappointed.
Yeah,
and
but
it has
they will
always
be
been
more disappointed.
extended.
Yeah, they will be
based
more,
on the
they will be more
resources.
disappointed this time. Yeah, they will be more disappointed.
So we are likely to go. Doctor, what is the
But,
main
but
resources?
there are aspirations and there are realities, right?
Yeah.
So we aspire to some ideal world, and at time, the nature presents what it presents to us. We don't have the resources, and if we don't have the resources, I think Gabriel made a good point. We're gonna have to sit down again, make a decision, but in that part of decision making, our people need to be engaged. We need to talk to them about the circumstances that are preventing us to make this transition. I mean, clearly, the country does not have the money, and so it's not our invention. I mean, there are so many factors that have led to that. And what my two colleagues are saying in terms of actually approaching this strategically is not to say $100 million will not be spent. It's to say over 24 months, the Bureau of Statistics can receive $500 a month. And that's smaller than asking for $35 million. And perhaps that could be done. So it is a strategy around managing the situation. So then instead of having $50 million a month that comes to the nation, spend on elections alone, you're going to have 30 million spent on other things, 20 million spent on elections. So 1 million, 500,000. And I think that's manageable. That's more of a
And the
uh,
strategy.
public servants'
So
salaries.
it's not
too.
about reducing
Exactly.
the price.
It's not about reducing the price.
So
because-
what is the most critical milestone that must be achieved before elections can proceed in December 2026? What must be achieved?
For us, there can be no election without civic and voter education, because that is the most important things.
Constitutional review
Well,
must you achieve before?
as I said earlier, there are a number of things that are indispensable. As you just mentioned about voter and civic education, it is within the commission. But for us,
Now you mentioned
yeah,
yours, leave about his commission.
For
He has
us,
mentioned
it is
his
about completing the process of
Completing.
constitution making.
permanent
Yeah,
constitution.
permanent
It is
constitution.
permanent.
Organizing political parties for the election. Because if we don't organize them, how will they go for election organized? Because
And you
we
need
have
money to organize them.
we have undocumented parties who are party to the peace agreement.
Victoria.
You understand what I mean? We have undocumented political parties who are party to the agreement. And they are part of this alliances that
Were
signed the
they as
agreement.
the main opposition party registered so far?
Well, I have not checked my documents. I'm not so sure whether they are registered or not.
Okay.
I can't comment now. But that's what I'm saying. Organize our parties for the election.
So there has to be an information on the table, whether it's coming from the census, it's coming from another source, for the government to make a decision on the constituencies-based representations. Without that, it's going to be a struggle for you to have constituencies that are well represented based on information from the population.
Okay, still with you, how do political tensions and ongoing insecurity affect electoral preparations?
Well, it boils down to that investment, right? If you're talking about security, you're going to invest resources for security to be restored. And we are a good example. At the Bureau, we are conducting major studies right now. And across the country, what it's assuring is that our people are tired of violence. And so even with all this inconveniences, with conflict all over the country, we are allowed to generate the data across the country. People want to give information so they can move on, so they can have a new phase in life, have new schools, new health facilities, and new roads. And that's assuring.
Election Commission, how does it affect the ongoing political tensions and insecurity?
Of course, it affects the electronic environment because we need a peaceful and secure.
And you're already
environment
talking with the
conduct
partners
the
to
elections.
conduct voter registration and civic education campaign in the states
In the states, yeah.
with the ongoing situation.
I think we are preparing, as I said already. The committee is assessing, and as Dr. Atinga said, our people also play a key to this process of security to ensure that our voting stations and any electoral activities are safe.
All right, Engineer, are we holding elections because of pressure from the international communities or because of genuine consensus among the South Sudanese people?
We are holding election because of revitalized peace agreement. Because that is what has been agreed in the peace agreement. At the end of transitional period, there has to be election. So we have got no any choice than to go for the election, not because of the international community and not because of regional pressure. But the whole thing is yet election can be conducted even if there are places where there are a lot of insecurity or tensions or whatever. It can still be escaped, and then election can be conducted in the peaceful places. I think that one is possible, can be done. Because relatively, South Sudan is much more safe now compared to previous years, I think.
Constitutional Commission?
Well, I would agree with the engineer in his initial statement that we don't want elections simply because the international community is putting pressure on us. It is something that we have agreed to do as the people of South Sudan through the agreement. So the transition must be crowned with elections that take us to the post-transition regime.
Victor?
I think we owe it to ourselves. The international setting is telling us that this is what you committed to as the people of South Sudan, and we expect you to do it. We came from war, and we founded our country, and since that time we have not been able to conduct that. And so the accountability aspect comes in as a result of what we have promised ourselves and what we have promised others, and not necessarily because of the pressure.
Election Commission, confirm to us, are we going for election in December 2026?
No, of course, based on national election, that the date has been set, December.
Whether with the resources or without, we are going.
Yeah, let me jump in here. As we said, it is not really the pressure from the national community that will force our government or this institution to hold election. It is meeting the aspiration of our people. As we know, our history of struggle began in 1947, when our old traditional leaders sat in Juba here and decide that they need their own country, whereby they will be allowed to elect their own leaders. So for me, this election will seal that democratic aspiration of our people. And as I read in the country agreement between the United Nations and our government, for barely 4 months after we got independent, the president wrote to the United Nations that we, the people of South Sudan, has chosen the democratic path, that our government will be a democratic society. Therefore, we need help, and that's why you see our international people are here. So holding this election, it is about meeting our long denied aspiration to elect our leaders, and also to conform with the democratic societies that we want to be like them.
All right, dear view of SSBC Power House with Akuch Maker, we have come to the end of our discussion where we were hosting the Electoral Institution to discuss or to update the public on their progress that they have made so far, the challenges that they're still facing and the way forward. And from what they're saying, 2026 December is the date that has been set and it can be met according to them. So that was it. We were joined here in the studio. Discussing with me were Gabriel Boldeng, the SG for National Election Commission, Dr. Agustino Tingmayai, Director General, National Bureau of Statistics, Riang Vuor, Chairperson, National Constitutional Review Commission, and then Engineer James Akol Zakayo, Chairperson of Political Parties Council. That is it we have for you on behalf of the team. We thank you for joining us. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Powerhouse with Akuch Maker, your weekly engagement into the heart of the nation's political and economic pulsation. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on SSBC television. This is Powerhouse, where realization meets empowerment, just on SSBC television.